We used to be gods, men, women, children, people, humans. Now we're just animals. And not even animals anymore, just robots. We used to be great gods, marvelous men, wonderful women, cherished children, peculiar people, happy humans. Not animals, not robots. They say if you look hard enough, owners and their pets start to look alike. The resemblance is uncanny. Well, if you look hard enough, I can see the same thing happening to humanity. No longer am I seeing human beings when I look into a vanity mirror. They just appear like animals to me. To satisfy the bottom line and be top dog, people are coming home dog tired, ready to take cat naps in their apartments. This is the new state. We've mutated backwards and grew to apes. It's like the reverse evolution of Darwin. See, this is what happens when you tell people that we're evolved like Darwin and we're all just carbon dust and not the dust of godmen. We've devolved from great gods to mere men to ordinary animals, from animals to inanimate objects that are robotic and mechanical. We're not built of sprockets and parts. So why do we fill our pockets and not our hearts? This evolution has got us looking like mutants. It's the worst process, the reverse of progress. I mean, just look around. Children, women, and husbands. The whole human race is going backwards. It's all Benjamin Button. And it's all about the Benjamins and gluttons, fat cats and fat piggy banks and cash cows in a rat race. Human cubicles are just a human-sized maze for guinea pigs and lab rats. All the have cars, Jaguars and Cadillacs, plus a nice habitat. But where's your happiness at? Don't you miss those years when you was a kid? It's disappeared. Don't you miss those years when you was a kid? When you actually liked and enjoyed the things that you did? It didn't matter if it made sense, as long as it was fun and playful. You would run on rainbows and walk upside down and feel the blood rush to your stomach from your ankles. But now you just wear high ankle socks, bull and bear market, banks and stocks, waiting for Wall Street to change and drop. But walls used to be streets, and streets used to be walls, and you could do anything because you were 1,000,000 feet tall. See, to me, this is why children beat adults, because they're willing to try, even when they see the fall, because they see the fall as an adventure. They still see the colors and the leaves of fall in the winter. White flakes is something to play in, while grown-ups just complain about the snow and rain and stay in like bears and hibernate. They march in line like good little worker ants. Busy bees in business, just drones and clones off to the worker plant. They're stuck in the honeycomb. And you see wives say, "Honey, come home from the beehive," she cries. But all the mosquitoes and flies just have to listen to their commander to make more honey. They tell them to make more money because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. They know how to take direction and fall in line at work, but at life they just seem to meander. No order, so moles dig more holes and beavers build more dams, all to afford a bigger house that they'll never even get to enjoy with their spouse. Because in order to afford it, they're too busy going out with hard hats to the factory. But their wife's not satisfied, and their life's not satisfied, even though their performance evaluation says satisfactory. And just because you're a yellow jacket bee that works at the honeycomb factory, that does not make you a product of your environment, because man was not manufactured. He is a created and crafted masterpiece, one of a kind from a divine design and blueprint. But I'll still hear useless excuses on repeat like a parrot or a parakeet. Ah, but we have to eat. Ah, but we have to eat. We try to be like a snake and snack on a rat and feast and think our soul can live off that and last a week. But your soul moans because you can't eat bread alone. Your soul also has to eat. And we're supposed to be gods. We need the ambrosia of laughter and sleep. You're supposed to be a God, not trapped but free. Whoever heard of a God who was a slave? Your whole life is blasphemy. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord by showing that human beings are deserving more than work as a chore and work as a bore. Our life should be like Hawaii, but our society looks more like Jersey Shore. And it hurts me to my core to see people who live in real nice houses, nice real houses, but sleep on proverbial dirty floors, who spiritually feel 95 but physically only 34, who will sink their teeth into meat and flesh but not life. They're just herbivores. This is what these words are for, to heal and reveal and pull back the curtains and door, because we're all just searching for more. Because we used to be gods, men, women, children, people, humans, not animals, not robots. Humanity is an endangered species like a manatee. And just like three blind mice being led by a seeing-eye dog, some people can't see that just because we come from the similar shape of apes and chimpanzees doesn't mean there's a missing link. I'm not dissing what you think, so please just listen and think. And even when you think you're on the brink of the answer, just wait and continue to investigate a little longer, like the pink panther. Because like blue whales, even though we may not be the biggest mammals on this planet, we're still the gods of this earth, even if there's a channel called Animal Planet. Because if we don't believe that we're gods, how in the world are we going to handle a planet? This planet's so obsessed with keeping the earth so clean and let's go green, but life is completely colorless with no dreams. We need to feel and fill our blood flow stream with that dopamine and use faith to make things hoped seem. If you're at a job and you don't like it, you don't fit it, then you need to quit it. But people are still caught up in that mentality of survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. Oh, please. How are we going to be the fittest when half the nation get no sleep and the other half is obese? We're a human race with really smart genes. We do good things for the environment, like keep the fuels in our cars clean. We got a Windows XP desktop, open rolling landscape, but then we go and try to cram in the space of parallel parking, cloisters and clusters of claustrophobic cubicles for telemarketing, with our foot slammed on a brake, trapped in a traffic jam like a can of sardines. Can't hardly breathe, trapped like a fish out of water to streams. And this kind of living makes it that much harder to dream. And so you martyr your dream because you're afraid of how your family and your friends will react. And so you avoid a job where your talents and your skills are at. Something that will satisfy your curiosity. Oh, that's right. You were always taught that curiosity killed the cat. But even George was curious, and he's a monkey, and you're no dummy, so come on, you should know better than that. Since the time we were little, they properly trained us to be good little workers, jump through hoops in the three-ring circus, chained up, and we just grin and bear it. While school is boring, lame as duck, the same stuff. Because we used to be gods, men, women, children, people, humans, not animals, not robots. Listen to this sage and the words that he brings, and I'll tell you why the cage birds doesn't sing. It's because his curiosity hasn't been fed. He's full of dread. Either that or he's dead and just wants to spread his wings. So I'm singing like a canary, talking like a stool pigeon, like I've broken the unspoken rules of prison. Because our school system is cruel to its victims, rule-driven. Might as well combine schools and prisons. Every day, like lambs to the slaughter, employees and students led in with the wool pulled over their vision. And while that's happening, your boss is shearing your wool to enrich him. So you drag yourself into work. Look what the cat dragged in today. Boy, I'll say. So why else do you think if the cat's away, the mice will play? Because people are tired of empty good mornings and have a nice day. So we're all just led like rats and children by the Pied Piper away. Because no matter how big we get, we're all just kids at heart. We just want to play. We want to be a silly goose, monkey around and horseplay. We need to be giggling gods, merry men, whimsical women, chuckling children, pleasured people. happy, healthy humans. Some people need to get off their high horse and just horse around, but instead they sort through dreaded reports. I shake my head and snort, because I don't mean to be the dead horse, but one day we'll all be dead, of course, and what will be said of us? That we were as quiet as a mouse or quiet as lambs, or that we had passion pumping through that red source? Because right now all we got is gas pumping into a red Porsche. Passionate like the color red about the cars we drive, but are we alive and need to be pumping and revving the engine to our heart's cry and making the value of art high? We're all very smart girls and smart guys, but people are always in a hurry, like that Alice in the Wonderland rabbit, so much that they're blurry. Either that or they're stuck to stool like barflies, just walking, or should I say, running contradictions, sitting at a bar hoping someone wants to listen when they're supposed to be a god. But they ask, who am I? So I guess they'll commit suicide and take the rest of us into non-existence at their favorite watering hole with water cooler talk for happy hour. But they don't have a happy life. The space between is the longest of distances. And like long distance runners, people race like horses in a steeplechase, attracted by money attached to a string like a carrot in rings, all just to keep the pace. But you're a human, but you're only human. You need a break, some peace, some grace, some sleep, some space, someone to see your face as an individual and not just a sea of faces, someone to satisfy your hunger in a deeper place. So eat, so taste what the Lord's given. The fruit is not forbidden. It's okay to play. We don't have to be forgiven for doing the things that we desire, like indulging in beauty and creativity and being inspired. You know, like a curious cat that endlessly plays with the ball of yarn. Great, you bought your car, you bought your house, but one day you'll have bought the farm and you'll be buried in the ground, literally have lost your leg and cost an arm. So like Animal Farm, I'm here to start a revolution, bringing heaven's truth in to catalyze a different kind of evolution where we used to be robots. We used to be animals, but now we're humans, we're people, we're children. From one God to another, can you see what we used to be before we ate from the fruit of the tree, the root of you, the root of me? Men who were powerful, women who looked beautifully, children who danced with jubilee. We're not robots, we're not animals. We're humans, we're people, we're children again. We are women, and we are men, and we can still be gods. Thank you. So I wanted to start off with actual creativity. It's kind of sweeping people up instead of, hey, what's your name? My name is John. Hey, what's your name? Because I feel like a lot of people in here are probably from the school of, I'm a creative person at heart. And maybe right now you're at a job where you don't get to actually live that out. And so you're used to doing that kind of stuff all day where people just, step one, step two, step three, step four, and hardly anybody says, hey, why don't we just mix it up and do something different? So I hope that this place is something we can make that continually, where it's not just discussion and talk and teaching only, but actual experiencing creativity, experiencing that right side of the brain, experiencing that beauty, that passion, that creativity, the non-linear kind of thinking. So I started with that poem, which I wrote last year. And it was just a lot of things going through my head. When I finished that poem, I looked at the page and was like, man, this is everything I've been thinking about for the past few months just on the paper. And it definitely is going to tie into a lot of what we're going to in this class. You may have seen the description of the class where I was like, the human soul has been crushed in the gears of the Industrial Revolution. And I think there's been a lot of dehumanizing of people in general, but specifically people who identify with creativity or an artist. And I think creativity applies to more than just artists, but I know but pretty much if you are an artist, you probably consider yourself creative. but I believe that everybody is creative in some way. Even myself has had to broaden my definition of creativity over the past year. Business, gardening, just typing an email is creative because you're looking at a blank page, there's nothing, and then you've made something. So I'm going to kind of lay out what I foresee the course being like for the next 10 weeks. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. And I think that you can get a lot from the artists who are going to come and bring themselves, from the teaching, from the discussion, the interaction. So pretty much every time we gather, I foresee it being 4 components. The first being what just happened, performance, or display, or show and tell, or whatever that means for you as a creative individual. If you have pictures of your garden, if you have actual sculpture you've done, actually poetry you've written. I like the idea of each week somebody coming in with who they are and displaying that for all to see. Because, if you're a creative person, even to other creative people, you haven't really proved yourself until you've done something and shown people. Because, you see people and it's like, hey, what do you do? I play the guitar. Oh, that's cool. It doesn't mean anything. Like, I got to see you play the guitar. I got to hear one of your songs. It's not like I don't trust you. It's just until you witness that person in front of you, it's just really hard to get a grasp on what they do. Like, if I would have done poetry right there and I would be like, yeah, I'm this poet, you guys would be like, oh, that's cool. But now that you've seen me present who I am, you're like, oh, this guy does poetry. So I hope that we can bring our full selves to each meeting where people feel like people got to see me. They got to see me as that creative individual. Because like I was saying, I think in our daily lives, depending on what kind of occupation you have or different other spheres of life, you may not get to. That part is pretty much undervalued a lot in our culture, and we're going to get into that hopefully tonight. So that's the first part, performance. Second part is we're going to call critique / safe zone, because I know when people hear the word critique, or, oh no, people are going to talk about what I do, they get scared, insecurities, and we're going to deal with that stuff too. But I think, to be a real creative person, artist, it can't just be about merely creating. If you really want to do something with, like, if you're just like, hey, I just like create on weekends, I just need that outlet, that's fine. Then, you don't really need critique, maybe not of the utmost, value, because you're just like, I just want to do this in my room, nobody's going to see it's for me. That's one thing. But if you're really like, I'm going out into the world where real people are who do the similar thing, like, you got to be able to stand up next to those people with a sense of quality and excellence and, just good work. And I think artists can sometimes just not do good work because it's like, oh, we feel sorry for you, you're a poor artist, yeah, clap, clap, clap. But I hope you guys can feel like this is a safe place where we're not here to like tear people down, but we're here like, we want to see you grow. Like, if we didn't want to see you grow, we wouldn't be doing the right thing. You're just like, oh, that's great. And then you go to the next group, and then people's like, oh, yeah. Like, we're trying, in this safe place, we're trying to like help you. So I hope that we can all come with the sense, we can lay out some rules that we all come up with about, how to critique, things like that. But I think the idea of critique or telling people the truth has gotten the bad rap. Like, being honest nowadays or telling the truth is mean. That's really mean. It's like, no, actually it's a lot less mean to tell them the truth so they don't get hurt even worse when they go out into a place where people don't care about them and then they try to perform. So that's part 2. Part 3 is teaching. As you can see, I have the charts, and that's what I'm going to be spending time just giving you my thoughts, my ideas. Plus, it's going to be woven in a lot of what I talk about. It can parallel with the book we're going to be going through. Daniel Pink, A Whole New Mind, my favorite author. He also wrote Drive, Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. You can read that in your own time too. But he's really advocating the return to more creative, compassion, empathy, those kind of characteristics that we lack, which goes to what I was saying about the dehumanizing of people, more specifically creative people. And when I do the teaching, like, I see it as an open time, like I'm teaching, but it's real, like, it's like teaching discussion. Like, I want to hear what you guys have to say, what you think. Like, you can raise any objections. I don't understand this. I'm not going to be offended. I want to hear what pops into your guys' heads. And then the final part is going to be, like I said, discussion, interaction. That's going to be less me standing up here talking, but more of us just sitting down and be like, all right, maybe hopefully, more people show up next time. It'll be more broken up into groups. But maybe we can even develop something more than just talking. I don't know. Like I foresee like something coming out of that. I haven't figured it out, but I just like the idea of artists getting together and actually bringing their thoughts to what they have about creativity versus just being talked to and then going away. So now just the logistical kind of stuff. So we will be going through the book, and each week I'll kind of send out what we need to be reading. And Evan, he said, if you guys want to like go through him and get the book, because he can just order everybody's off Amazon, just pay him and you can get it shipped free if you want to do that or find it wherever else, but he is willing to do that. Like I said in the description, as you see, I have the MP3 recorder, so every week when I'm done, we might try to get like a simple site set up where you can download it, but otherwise it's just going to be send space or you send it, where I send you the link and you download it. You have like a week or so to get it. So feel free to come, not come, listen via email. Some of you guys already signed up on email sign up. I had that. Oh yeah, then this other thing, it's kind of hidden by the books, but this other cool thing I thought was a good idea. I'm gonna bring this board every week, and if you guys have some article, some quote, some phrase, some experience, some clipping, some anything that just made you think about something in the class or just was on your mind, like I think it'd be cool to pin it up so each week we just have this collage of stuff that people have been thinking about. So I already started it. I found this sticker that I don't even remember where I got it from, but it has the word music industry, and industry is crossed out, and underneath it says community. And then my friend, I can't remember what she explained this group was, but she's handed me this card, and I loved it because it was right before last week, and the card says "Still Human," and I love that. That fit. I knew that was like, yes, that was for me, because everything I'm talking about is dehumanization. Like there are some people of us who are still humans. So, so that's the board. That's yeah, I think that could be good. It's just kind of helps have something to gather around. And plus, look at those books that I set up over there. I'm in the process of reading or have read those books. And just the titles of them, I think, are cool. Like emotional intelligence. Like who talks about that? I've never heard about that till last year. The idea of having an EQ versus an IQ. Creativity, play, drive.
And that core objective truth, like a doctor, but after you know it, you can then maybe go beyond that, do other things, but you know that objective truth.
That's cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching another TED Talks yesterday. This guy, he's a brain surgeon or brain doctor. So he was doing these MRIs on people while they were playing jazz piano, improv, and then he interviewed like people who were freestyle rapping to just see what the brain was doing. So he made the comment that he said, even though I'm a brain surgeon, he said, I like creativity. He said, but I've never heard any of my patients say be real. So I think there's truth to there's certain jobs where you have to have. I think it's just interesting how the two sides, I think they work. They work together, because when you were talking, it made me think of, to be a doctor and to be a good surgeon, you also have to have empathy. Because when you're cutting that patient, you're not just going in treating them like an engine. Like you have to have a sense of humanity as well while that's working. Like I want to cut this guy in such a way that's going to cause the least amount of pain and discomfort and heal the fastest. Yeah. And we're going to get into in the Whole New Mind. He has this chapter where he's talking about the idea of telling a story, like how we don't really tell stories anymore. So he's saying there's certain schools now which are treating the whole patient. So there's a hospital where doctors have two charts. They have the strictly analytical numbers, medicines, all the sort of left brain stuff. But then they have this whole other chart which they call the patient story, where they ask, tell me the history of your life and your illnesses and how you came to be the way you are. And it's saying those people who do that are having much better recovery rates with their patients, because they're treating the entire human being and not just the numbers. So I think that's I think what he's saying, there is this idea of that you do have to have moments when you're strictly I have to be objective because this is serious. I can't cut this guy open because I feel like it. I have to cut this guy open because he needs to be healed. But like I'm saying, like the empathy is never removed from that.
It made me think that, like in my work, I meant to say that when we were talking before that I have a creative aspect of my work, because personally I'm motivated towards process improvements. But what I do is I learn first what the standard operating procedure is, and then you master that, which is the objective. But then you start to creatively think of how. And another thing I like to, I'm a self-described time efficient, so I like to reduce something that takes 5 steps into 3 steps. So once you are very familiar with the objective side of the standard operating procedure for doing a thing, then creativity can come in in the form of a process improvement.
And you make me think of other stuff, which I thought was going to come later. But I was watching, I was editing. I do video editing, so I was editing this seminar of this guy who's a local businessman, and he teaches other business owners how to grow their business. So one of the speakers on the DVD, which I was editing, he was talking to business owners, and he said, okay, look, I know all you guys think that the way to get more customers is to lower your price. Have the lowest price, and people want to buy that because it's the lowest. He's like, okay, let me give you an example. He said, let's say you go into a store and you buy a shirt. And the shirt is $10 here, and then over here, the same shirt is $6. He's like, are you going to buy the cheapest shirt? And everybody's like, yeah, of course. He said, what if the shirt didn't fit? Like, what if the shirt is for a guy and you're a girl? Like, what if you don't like the color? So he's like, there's all of these other parts of us that go into the equation of how we decide things that aren't clearly just the lowest price, the lowest denominator. And then this idea I came up with was, whenever we go to see movies, your friends across the room is like, hey, you want to see a movie tonight? What does the person say? Yeah, what's the shortest movie? What's the most efficient movie? No, we say, what is the movie about? What is the story? What is the human aspect? But I think we've been trained so much to only use this that we don't see it in other areas where we would be like, oh yeah, that's stupid. But then we go to work, we go to school, we do other things in life where we only operate out of this, and we think it's normal. When everywhere else we would say this is clearly dumb, that we would only choose based on the rational part of this decision and not the emotional too.
And even on the flip side of that, I was taking a guitar lesson today. I'm just starting with a new teacher, and I told him, he's like, what do you want out of these lessons? And I said, you know what, man, I've been playing music for a while now, and I know a fair amount, but I just have no good solid grasp of the fundamentals and of a solid basis in theory and movement and just construction of songs and chord patterns. And he's like, all right, cool. So we started with just the simplest, most objective. We're going to play a scale on one string over and over again, And I've been playing for, about 10 years. But we're going to start with this simple, objective. We're going to number. We're talking math. We're going to just talk about math and music. But the beauty of that is because, I've been just on this subjective end of things with music. I just haven't gotten very far. But given the tools of the objective, even in my art, my creativity is, just paves the way for more freedom in the subjective realm.
Yeah.
My son played jazz since he was really, really young, but and so we gave him a foundation of classical music, and so we said we would teach him the rules, and then he could break them in improvisational jazz. But at least when he breaks the rules, it's a long. Those.
You know what rule you're breaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you probably will hear me throughout this course more than once reference the Cosby Show. Because the Cosby, I kid you not, the Cosby Show has the greatest life lessons. And it's not even like you're trying. You're just like, oh my goodness, it's brilliant. So you were saying that, and maybe there's this one episode, or it's actually a couple episodes. No, it's the same episode, I guess. All of, the Cosby kids, Vanessa and her 2 friends, they want to do a singing group. So they come in, they got the dance moves, and they got like, come on, dude. Come on, baby, do the local. So they go, and they're like, yeah, y'all sound good, but y'all should get some lessons. So they go to the lessons, and the woman's like, teaches them how to breathe and do breathing exercise. And they come back, and they're like, Dr. Huxtable, that was whack. You know, we just want to sing. You know, she had us doing zigga zigga za, zoo 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 zoo. Like, we just want to sing. He said, let me tell you a story. He said, when I was a little kid, he said, I used to listen to this record with this drummer. And he would go, and then, so I went to the man who taught drum lessons up the street, and I was like, I want to play the just like he said, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. So he sat me down and he gave me 2 sticks and he said, go like this, thwack, 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 thwack. He said, now I don't want to go thwack. Thwack. I want to go. He said, I know, but before you get to you got to go thwack, thwack, thwack. And that always sticks in my mind because it's like, yeah, most people nowadays just think they're going to pick up drums and be amazing, or pick up a guitar and be amazing. It's like there's that sense of freedom, like you're saying, you got to have the rules and then you break them.
Yeah.
Or it's like movies. Kind of, we're going to segue into this idea of the mystery, but the whole point of movies is, even though a movie is a thing that deals with the imagination, it's also grounded in reality. So what I call it is grounding people and then be groundbreaking. It's like when you go to watch a movie, like there has to be some things that are just normal. Like, oh, okay, these people, they're in the city. All right, so it's human beings, okay, they go to work. Like there's certain things that just have to be quote unquote mundane to sort of connect with that reality which you're already aware of. But then if you're just watching people go to work, drive cars, like go to the office, it's boring. Nobody wants to watch that. So there's got to be something that happens that's out of the ordinary, but it's always this balance of the literal and then the mysterious, or the literal and then ascending above that. So now we're going to talk about this idea of, like I said, the known or the literal versus the unknown and the mysterious. So right now, like I said, on the objective side, the idea of knowing everything is seen as what's valued. Like if you know how to do something, if you know a lot of knowledge about something, that's the correct way to be in life. Not knowing, that's not good. We need people who know stuff. But the truth is, we like to not know stuff. Even though we talk a lot about being knowledgeable and scientific and concrete. So, let's see where that started here. So, my first example is magic trick. We all like magic. We like illusions. We like being tricked. We like being fooled. Because it's interesting. Like there's a part of us that wants to see how it works. Like, oh, show me how that works. But then once we learn it, we're bored. It's like, oh, that's it? It's not cool anymore. So there's this part of us that does not want to know. Like there's a part of us that likes the mystery, the adventure, the fear of like, oh, what's going to happen next? And we're going to talk about how the knowing and the unknown works together. So then I got here J.J. Abrams, who made Lost. I didn't watch Lost. I wasn't a fan. Some of you guys may have been.
Mm-hmm. Until the end.
Yeah, I have a friend who hates it. He's like, I loved it until the last episode.
Don't tell me.
He'll be here at 8. He'll be here soon. So good, I'm getting through this part before he gets angry. But okay, so J.J. Abrams had this TED Talk called The Mystery Box. And so on the talk he was giving, he had this box on stage that had question marks. And he said, my grandfather gave me this like 30 years ago, and I never opened it. Like, I still haven't opened it. And he said, I was like, why have I not opened this box for 30 years? And then he said, it dawned on me, like, I like mystery. I like not knowing what's in this box. So then he goes on to talk about how he wrote Lost and how he incorporated the whole idea of being mysterious and not knowing, and how we actually like that. And the one line he said that was really interesting, he said, the idea of withheld information is often more appealing than knowing. And I think that's very fascinating. I put over here, we live in the information age, the information overload. So in an age where we know, we're on every website, it's like, get to our data faster, more information than you can ever want, in 6 clicks. It's like we have this mind, this overall theme of our existence now is information age. Like, how much information can we know? We're knowledgeable. We know a lot of stuff. But actually, we like the other side a lot better. We like not knowing. One, because we don't have to think. It's like, oh, I'll just relax. But the other one, there is something about the idea, me and Daniel, the guy who hates Lost, we were talking about this the other night. We just sat on the lawn and we started talking about all these things, these different versions of how things are hidden or kept away from you. So the idea of, I call it proximity. It's like a celebrity. Celebrity in relationship to you is far away. So you're intrigued. You're like, oh wow, Tom Cruise. I love Tom Cruise. But to his parents, it's just Tom. There's something about being close to something or knowing about something just makes it, I know Tom. I seen him naked, gave him baths. But to us, we're like, you watch Cribs, MTV Cribs, like they open up the person's refrigerator, it's like, what do they have in their refrigerator? It's like, oh, it's food too. It's like we have this, there's this sense that celebrities are so ultra mysterious and they eat ambrosia because they're just far away from us. And there's this sense of mysteriousness or the fact that something is hidden or covered. Like we like the idea of things being covered and obscured more than we actually like seeing them. I remember somebody saying once about Alfred Hitchcock. They were I guess they were commenting on the present day of movies and like, kids, they watch all these movies nowadays with violence and blah, blah, blah. But what people don't get about Alfred Hitchcock is his genius was he actually didn't show you what happened. He said, because he understood that the mind of the audience was filling in the blanks, which is infinitely more scary because you can come up with anything. Like, I show you the Psycho Killer, it's scary for like 2 seconds, and it's like, oh, okay, I've seen the blood. But in your mind, you're just like, oh, what's going on? Like, you were making up stories because your mind is that powerful. That mystery, withholding things makes you think of things. And I think that goes a lot to the idea of, well, we'll get to it in a second, but related in the education nowadays, like we're not taught to think. You're given the answer and then you regurgitate it back. So people don't have the sense anymore that when they go to a movie, that there's a part for them to contribute. And we all go to movies because we want to relax, but there is still this sense, like you ask somebody to watch a movie more than once, they're like, what? Like I have to like get something, I'm supposed to think about what happened? Like, no, just lay it out for me. It's like, no, like the people in Lost and these other movies, they deliberately hide things and hold it back and obscure it and make it far away so you can find it and feel like, hey, I found that. It's like when you were a little kid, you went on an Easter egg hunt. Why? Because you like finding things. Nobody just said, here's the egg, and it's on the table, grab one, everyone. It's like, what's the fun in that? It's like you got to go search and seek and find something. And so then off that last point, robots have no imagination. Human beings, free will, have imagination. So then we see these ideas again, the objective and the subjective. They kind of show up in different ways. And here I have stability or ability versus flexibility. And so mainly when I think about this, I think of more personality types. So there's some people who really need structure, schedule, plan, information, knowing, details, versus the flexibility people, they need spontaneity, they need to go with the flow, they make it up as they go, lack of information, uncertainty, seeing the broad scope. So the people who have stability, they value structure more than flexibility. They like to know what's going on. They don't want any surprises. You must be one of those people. That I have never understood. I'm the opposite. I'm way over here. I'm one of the people who are like, I like flexibility. We'll figure it out when I get there. We'll figure it out once it's done. I like not knowing. Actually, knowing makes me feel uncomfortable and stifled. I'm like, why are you telling me all this details? I really don't care. I'll just figure it out when I get there. Please stop talking. So going back to the interdependent idea, well, let me say without stability, people they feel wobbly, fearful, unsafe. The flexibility people, without that, they feel stifled, stiff, unhuman. So I said here we need a perfect mix of both, blending the two. So even the people who enjoy stability in all areas, in the sense that even though, okay, let me say it this way. These people who value details, they don't value details all the time. If I was throwing a surprise party for one of these people, they don't want to know about it. They don't want to know the details. They want to be surprised. So here I have the guy in the cartoon saying, for me, happy birthday. You like that surprise. You like the mystery. You like not knowing that someone's going to give you a party. Otherwise, it's not fun. It's fun being taken off guard. Now, on a daily basis, they may value that detail, that structure, that knowing. But you're not that entirely. Like I was saying earlier about, the different areas of life where we find ourselves using, the right and left, objective and subjective, similar idea. So the people over here on flexibility, even though they enjoy flexibility and freedom, like myself, I like the fact that the sun comes up every single day without fail. That makes me feel safe. That makes, just knowing that Wednesday is coming next week, I don't have to think about it. I'm like, good, that's a constant. But as a variety person, I like that there is never a single day that has ever been the same since time began. Like, there's never been the sun and the moon and the colors and the clouds all exactly. It's not rigid. So there's a balance of structure and flexibility. So I have here, just drawing like the weather. Like you watch the weather newscast, like every day. They got cloudy this day, sunshine that day, thunderstorm that day. It's all the same days repeating, different days. So stability provides safety, security, peace of mind, but the flexibility provides freedom, variety, fun. So we got to have the two, because like I said, either you will be very excited but scared because you don't know where you're going, or you will be very safe but bored because you're not going anywhere. So you got to have those two in union. So I just think it's interesting, even though these themes are the same, like when you see them through different lenses, it helps you be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. So this is probably going to be a thing that finds its way throughout. Like this yin-yang image, I think, is probably the best image that has been created over the years to describe the balance of life. If you think about it's all white, but there's a little dot of black, like it's never getting away from the black. And you've got this all black, it's never getting away from the white. So, some people, they're all stability, but they need that surprise. They need that birthday party. It may just be once a year, but they need that. The people who are all flow and freedom, they need that structure. They need to sometimes know where they are. They need to know sometimes what's going on to feel safe. But I like the idea of, going back to the idea of the magic trick, I like to explain the way that our desire, the half of us that wants to know stuff, it's constantly chasing the unknown. It's like a guy in pursuit of a woman. Like he's always chasing her. He's always going after her, trying to figure her out. He never will. She reveals a little bit of herself. He's excited. Then she runs away. He catches her again. About herself. She reveals a new one. He never gets tired with her. He's always pursuing her. I feel like the side of us that wants to know is always pursuing the side that doesn't want to know. As soon as we catch it, it reveals itself, herself, and we're excited for the moment. The magic trick. Oh, that's how that trick was done? I could do that. But then what if the magician said, oh, hold up, but watch this. Then he shows you some little nuance. It's like, oh, whoa, how'd you do that? Like, we like the idea of subtleties and nuances. So it makes me think of movies like plot twists. It's like, something happens and you're like, okay, they revealed it. Great, they revealed it. And then they say, but dun dun dun. And you're like, oh no, he's really his half brother of his ex-cousin, and it was, switched at birth. We consistently like to be tricked again, even when we think we know. Cliffhangers. The idea of, at the end of a show, you think something like Lost, they leave you on edge. And that sort of like unresolved is sitting in you all week to next week. Like if you were to keep that unresolved for a long time, you wouldn't enjoy it. You like being on edge for a little bit, but then you want to, Matt says no, you don't like being on the edge at all?
I'm always a season behind. I wait till it comes out on DVD and I watch the whole season. I hate cliffhangers. I think about it at work all day. There's not closure. I need closure.
So it doesn't happen quick enough for Matt.
No.
But it's like this, it's this push and pull of take away a little information, give that information next week. Take away information from the end of that episode. Like you're never just always unknowing or always just knowing everything because you're either bored or afraid. The idea of suspension and tension. Like I read this book called Writing Your Screenplay. Actually, it's your book. I still have it. It's a good book. So she has this idea that as a screenwriter, whenever you write a scene, there has to be tension. If there's not tension, it's going to be boring. And so she's saying there was this one book that was written that was turned into a TV movie of the week, and it was about a nice woman who lived next door to a nice family. And she said, I bet you if they make that into a movie, the woman's going to be evil and wretched and old, or otherwise the screenplay won't sell. And then sure enough, she was like, told you. It turned into a wretched woman. Because she's just saying, if there's not this sense of push and pull in a scene, it's just boring. Like two people just sitting, at a table. So how's life? Life's great. What are you doing tomorrow? Going to work? Great. What are you doing after that? Going it again. Like nobody's gonna watch a scene like that. People's like, if it's gonna be that conversation, you're gonna know something about the woman before, so you can get this context. The woman's a prostitute, and then the scene becomes different. Like, what are you doing tomorrow? Going to work. Oh, really? All of a sudden there's this element of something more than just random dialogue. Or spoiler alert. Think about that. When you get on Wikipedia and it's like, this movie is blah, blah, blah. Oh, spoiler alert. Why don't you want to know the ending? Because you want to be surprised. Nobody wants to find out, except for Matt. He wants to know. He's getting uneasy just talking about it.
You read the last page of every book?
I generally don't read.
But yeah, it's like, people don't like things ruined for them. They want to come to it and arrive on their own. So when you're on Wikipedia and they have that spoiler alert, you're like, oh, I can't watch this. Let's see. So I said, the unknowing Sarah kind of plays hard to get. She makes us chase after her. And the reason I think for that is because think about when you work for something, it's much more meaningful and much more gratifying when you've worked to get it versus someone just giving it to you. Nowadays, we'll go back to the objective of, oh yeah, just give them the answer. Like we think that's the way things should be because people have taught us like, oh yeah, in school they give you the answer and then you give them the answer back. That's easy. That's how people get success. But the kids are bored because they're not getting to apply themselves. So they really aren't enjoying the fact that, oh, the teacher gives me an answer and then I give it back to her and then I graduate. Like that kid would feel so much more self-worth knowing that I passed that test because I went home and I made connections between the chapter 1 and chapter 2 and I saw these parallels and I wrote a paper about it. I always wanted to do that in school. Every time we would get a paper, I was like, man, I got an idea. I want to write about this. Nope. List the 5 topics. This is what you're writing about. I hated that. I read every topic. I was like, boring, boring, boring. But you have to because that's the approved way. Like that's the, it's like the idea of Shakespeare. I mean, he's a great writer, but I would read, not Shakespeare maybe, but I would read these other poets in our English books, and I was like, why is this dude in this book? Like, how come my poem's not in this book? Like, why is he the standard? It's just this idea that people have been established as the poet or the writer, the standard, and we can't question them, so you need to follow them, and you need to quote them because they're right. And, like, it goes back to that subjectivity we were talking about at the beginning. You as a human being has not been considered valuable. We've been taught in school and work, like, your viewpoint is not important. That's just something you feel. It's not really important, though. Make an objective essay on the topics we gave you. So yeah, that makes me, I'll go ahead and tell this story. It might apply later. I might tell it again later. But there's this guy, if you guys know Zig Ziglar, is like this great motivational speaker. He's told this story about, he's walking down the street. It's a homeless guy lying in the street. And what?
I like Z.
So this homeless guy is selling pencils for $1. So most people, they walk by and they drop $1 in because they feel sorry for him because he's homeless. Zig Ziglar walks by, drops $1 and feels sorry because he's homeless. Gets to his train, stops and strikes like, wait a minute. Goes back to the homeless guy. I want my pencil. I paid for this. And you're a businessman like myself, so you have fair prices, so I want my pencil. So then he goes off. And then, like a month later or something, somebody comes up to Zig Ziglar and says, you don't know me, and I don't know who you are, or you probably don't remember me, but you're the only person who ever saw me as a businessman. Now I own my own business. And it's like, just think about how great that guy felt once he had that sense of self-worth and satisfaction. Like, I created a business, not people gave me money on the street because they felt sorry for me. And we're going to get into the stuff later about being, about how, the image of the creator, being made to do something for yourself and not just sit around because, that's what the whole, I think everything goes back to the education. Like, people are taught, we have to give you the answer because you're clearly not smart enough to come up with this on your own. So we got to get you through these standards of learning. I don't know if everybody has standards of learning for where they come from, but in Virginia, There's this thing, standards of learning, where kids, when they graduate, they got to take this test that proves that they know all the knowledge of all the high school, and it's not proving anything. It's just proving that the teachers have taught the curriculum that was forced upon them. My little brother, I love talking to him because okay, this is what my little brother does. He goes to he hounds my mom to buy him Plato and Socrates, like these DVD volume sets. He'll just sit there and watch them and just write stuff because he wants to. Then he goes to school and he's trying to have a conversation with the teacher, and the teacher has to tell him, well, we can't really veer off the path of the SOL because we have to learn this, or, you know, our school won't get this accreditation, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's trying to go the extra mile and learn and contribute, and it's like, we're not allowed to. You're not allowed to be extra beyond the curriculum. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. But that's what happened with that, like I read at the beginning with that C.S. Lewis. You know, what you have to say is not really important. We kind of got to go with the safe, the easy answer. So yeah, that homeless guy is going to appreciate it that much more. Students are going to appreciate their degrees much more because they feel like they contributed something, that they actually did something of themselves. And that's what we're going to get into, is this idea of, you know, when you're contributing to the world, you're not just contributing some random thing. Like, you're giving who you are as a person to us as a population. It's like, oh wow, it's Ebony. Like, that's not just something. Like, that's Ebony. Like, it's her own thing. The way I described it, I just had this idea recently. I was like, if you think about it, each one of us is a monopoly in the planet. Nobody else can be you. Like, you have a monopoly on being you. No one else in the world can be any one of you. Your unique gifts, talents, experiences, families, ideas, projects, dreams. You are the only person who can go to places like, I got this idea that nobody else has ever had because it's me. Done. All right, so the idea of going back to curiosity, mystery. I had this in my poem, both these lines. And I think it's fascinating how we have all of these sayings in our culture that are absolutely untrue. Like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't know who came up with that, because if I would tell my mom, F you, she wouldn't say, oh, that's cute, words. I would have been whipped and dead. So, curiosity killed the cat. I think somebody wrote that story, and now it's gotten into people's brain, like, oh yeah, you don't want to be curious. That'll get you in trouble. Don't veer outside the box. Stay on the safe path. I mean, think about it. That paints curiosity as a negative thing. Mm-hmm. If you do something like that cat, he was curious. You know what happens when you're curious? You want to start a business. Oh, you try to start a business. No. It's just something Dan Pink talks about in Drive. He says that's one thing that people need to get back into, is just the idea of being curious, like a little kid. And he was saying, he said, I think when we come out of the box, calling human beings almost like a product, like when we come out of the box, the switch is flipped on to engage. He said, how do I know that we're curious? He says, I have a 3-year-old daughter. Like, she gets into everything. Like, there's nobody has to tell her, hey, go get involved in that. Like, she's just naturally getting into stuff she shouldn't be getting into. He's like, we are naturally curious. And I think as artists, as scientists, as business people, like, you have to go wherever that thing that you feel is pulling you. Like, that thing that just fascinates you, like, oh, I want to study, why World War II affected, slavery in America, like, whatever that thing is that jumps out at you that you can't sleep at night. I think people need to pursue that. And I think they need to just let that thing take them over. Stop worrying about, is this right? Just, that's where you're supposed to go. Your curiosity, if there's something that's just, itching and always constantly, that's where you're supposed to go. So this whole idea, I think, is interesting, of curiosity killed the cat. It makes me think of this other idea of curiosity in a cat. There's this guy who's this pickup artist who he teaches guys how to pick up women. So he uses this analogy. He says, he pretty much tells guys, like, okay, kind of the idea of mystery. His name is actually Mystery, too. And he's like, if you're going to approach a girl, he's like, what you do is you actually have to make yourself the one who's pursued. So you go and you talk to her, but you act like you're not really interested. Like, you present this air of mystery. He said, because you think about it, people want things more that they have to work for than just given to them. Mm-hmm. So the analogy he used, so he's saying pretty much you make yourself like the target being chased. Like, you go up to her and you show her that you're not interested in her. Like, oh yeah, that's cute. I don't really care. Like, you really approach her, but then you make her come over like, wait, why is this guy not interested in me? What's going on? Everybody usually just throws themselves at me. He's hard. He's playing hard to get. Wait, something's different about him. So he uses an analogy. He says, think about when cats play with the ball of yarn. He's like, you have cat and you're playing with the ball of yarn. He's like, that cat is playing. And as soon as you let the string go, he's like, the cat gets disinterested and just stops. And he's like, that's how we are as people. As soon as someone gives something to us, we don't want it anymore. So the idea of like the mystery again. As soon as somebody shows you that magic trick, for a second, yeah, it's like, oh, that's really boring. Because once we know, that's all there is to it. It's the idea of not knowing which keeps us pursuing and chasing. So I just like this whole idea of, our male, quote unquote male, males are more typically associated with logic, reason, linear thinking. Females are more considered emotion, intuition. Kind of, you're not able to quantify emotion and intuition. So I kind of like to think of our intelligent side chases our intuitive side because we want to know, we want to know, we want to know, we don't want to know, we want to know, we want to know, we don't want to know. It just never stops. And if you think about it, that's what keeps us excited because we're always running. We're never just sitting still, but we're also never just running. So we're not tiring ourselves out trying to figure it out, but we're also never just sitting still. It's a constant kind of run, stop, reflect. Okay, run, stop, reflect. So now I have my little cartoons. So here I have, continuing on with the left side, education. I kind of took this from Ken Robinson, education kills creativity. So I got the student here. He's being taught by the teacher. And the teacher is telling the student the answer, input, and all the student is expected to do is output the answer. And the teacher hears it, and she says, good job, Billy. You know how to regurgitate. Same thing. She has the answer in the book. He writes the answer on the paper. That's like I said, that's what a robot does. You put in data, the robot will output data because that's what a robot. So we're turning our children, our students into robots. We're teaching them, you don't have anything to offer. You don't have anything to contribute. Anything you say is not important. So you just need to memorize. Don't add any original thought. And I think, like going back to that C.S. Lewis quote, I think that's what's the most damaging attack on students today is being told, you don't have anything to offer. You don't have anything original to say. So now when you ask kids to do stuff, it's like they feel like they don't have anything to say. You say, hey, do this. They're like, what do you think about this? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Everybody knows, no, I don't know. Like they've literally, in some ways, I think some students literally just, they have been taught that having an original thought is a bad thing, so I better keep this to myself because this is stupid. Only such and such as textbook answers required. Every time I wrote that down on a piece of paper, teacher gave me a check mark. Once I tried to veer out of that, like my brother did, once you try to go and do something more, then that's wrong. That's a great thing, but that's just your feelings. So I think restoring the creative identity as we're trying to do is what's going to help people to be like, hey, wait, I actually do have stuff to say. People just told me that I didn't. So then connected to this education, I have the term observation. So nowadays, we reward people for merely observing, but not doing anything. So in this cartoon, I have this guy saying proudly, that is an aluminum can. And the guys, around next to him is like, wow, you're a genius. He merely observed, he made a statement. That is an aluminum can. But that's what's accepted. Pointing out what is. So then over here I have on the interpretation side, the same two characters. This other guy's like looking at the can, he's like, no, that's not just a can, that's a sculpture, that's the cure for cancer. And the other guy's like, you're so stupid. I mean, that's what kids are taught. Once you see something else other than it is, you're considered stupid. So subjectivity is rejected. The idea of what could be is rejected. I don't think it's true in all senses. Like once you can make money off something, then people are excited. Like, oh yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, keep creating. But if you can't make money off of it, if it's just an idea for an idea, people don't like it. And I think this is going to tie into a lot about the idea of the image being made in the image of the capital C creator, which we'll get into. I think the thing I've learned in the past year that's been really fascinating to me is the idea of how faith, creativity, pretend, make-believe, play, like all those things mean the same thing, just in their own context. So being able to look at something and see it beyond what it is. Like, you see the thing. You don't ignore it. That's what most people think faith is. You look at something and you ignore it. I don't see that can. It's like, no, I see that can, which is the truth. It's objective. But subjectively, I also see that that can be more than a can. So I think one of the major attacks on seeing yourself as a creative identity also affects other areas. It's not just about making art and writing poems. It's like when you go to work now, or when you're in a situation, you all of a sudden have to say, oh wait, this isn't just, a rubber band. It's a tourniquet thing that I can do to save this guy's life. Like being creative helps you to see things that are not what they seem to be. Like that quote was like, some people see things as though they are and ask why. I see things as though they aren't and ask why not. That quote. So the idea of being able to see something as though it's not is very important. And I think, did I do that chart? It'll be the last chart on there. But yeah, if you're associated with anything spiritual or unseen, like even if you're not a spiritual person, artists and spiritual people I kind of categorize in this one thing of, oh, you're that metaphysical, yeah, we don't want to, yeah, that's stupid. You see things. You like people who see ghosts, like, oh, you see things, you're crazy. That's how artists are. We see what people don't see. So we're quote unquote crazy. So I kind of already, described this, but imagine if the teacher said, instead of just regurgitating from the book, what do you want to do, Billy? Well, problem with this is, Billy might not know what he wants to do yet. We don't like that because we want to know what to do now. Where's Billy supposed to be going? He's supposed to be on 4-track to college, and then after that get a job, and then he's get a house, and then he's got to get a wife. It's like all these things built into our life make everything on this fast track where we just got to go, 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 go. What do you mean you don't know what you want to do? All right, pick something, go, go, go. It was like, what if Billy hasn't figured it out yet? Give the boys, some time. And so I think people are afraid of that. The idea that anything could come out or nothing at all could come out, where this is safe. We know what we're going to get because we're keeping the cycle, we're keeping the loop closed. Nope, don't try to insert any original thought. Bernard's brother, no original thought, just keep the loop going. Whereas here, it's like the loop is quickly broken because it's like, oh, well, I could do this, I could do that. Well, maybe I could do this. Oh, what if I can do this? And people don't like that. They want to know what to do because they're afraid of the unknown. They want the known. And so I think, like I said, I think people, especially students nowadays, like this fear of having nothing to say. Like people don't like when you ask them, well, what do you want to do? It's like, oh, now I got to have an answer that's based in myself, not just something that's been given to me. Like I have to create this thought from within, and I think maybe part of it is people don't know who they are, so they don't have anything to say. Maybe this should have came earlier, but the unexplained versus the explained, kind of back to the knowing versus the unknown. So, yeah, sorry, this chart was out of order, but you remember what I was talking. So we don't want to know things. Like when it comes to love, that's the first example I think of. When somebody falls in love, they don't want to know how it works. They just want to feel good. So we don't want to know how love feels. We just want to feel good. Or works, we just want it to feel good. When you're with that person that you love, you don't want to know what time it is. Like you want to be absent-minded, so to speak. That's what makes like dating exciting to a lot of people because it's like, oh, I wonder if she likes me. Like the idea of not knowing is what kind of raises the anticipation. Like, oh man, it's like again, it's scary. Like there's risk. It's like, what if she doesn't like me? I'll get rejected. But then there's the other half. It's like, what if she does like me? Oh, this is exciting. So you could program a robot to love you, but would that be real and meaningful? It would be safe. It would be easy. If we all wanted somebody to love us, we'd create a robot just like we wanted to say all the things we wanted to say, but we're telling it what to say. It's not saying it because it wants to say it. It's saying because it's a robot. So it's safe. It's easy. It's guaranteed. But is it real? Is it meaningful? I already kind of said that. So yeah, love and the unknown, they kind of go together, question mark, heart. So then over here on the explain side, I have up here what I call R&B science. I said, imagine if our songs on the radio were about knowing, and they weren't said in the language of love. We have a duet, and they're saying, Oh baby, I see you in 5,000 neurons per second fire in my hippocampus when I see you on campus. And my brain processes a similar response when I intake light into my cornea and observe your anatomy. Ooh. Like no song on the radio sounds like that. Why? Because we could care less. We could care less about what is happening. We just liked it. What? I might buy it too. I might buy it too. I kind of want to write a song like this now, honestly. Yeah, the radio might as well be this.
That's too intelligent for the radio, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's too intelligent for the radio, but it's still the idea of we don't care what our body is doing when we're in love. We just want it to happen. Now, take that down to this idea of how more information supports pleasure. People are obsessed with this idea of more information, more information. Oh, we've made the scientific discovery. Not realizing the only reason that we make a scientific discovery is to have more pleasure. So if you're thinking about something of love, people study love and the neurons because they want to make it more pleasurable. Like, oh, how can we increase intimacy between husbands and wives? Let's study the brain's neurons during sex. Like, it's not just to study it and like, oh, we know what this is now. It's like, no, you want to know how it works better so you can make it feel better. You know, that, like I said, that male is always chasing the female. The information is always chasing the pleasure. The only reason we do things is to make it more about that more human side of us, the emotional, the intuitive. So then the final chart, which I didn't even think I'd get to the final chart today, but so this is where I think this comes into play for most of the people in here, creativity, artists.
I'm gonna help you out.
Alright, yeah, I got my big clipboard upstairs, which I didn't. Alright, thanks. So going again with that, you know, scientist is on the side of the left and the explained and the knowing. Artist is on the side of the right brain and the unknowing and the intuition and emotions. So like I was saying, you know, a few moments ago, I think artists can be categorized with any type of spiritual person, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, because whenever somebody starts talking about something that is not seen, you are perceived as stupid, crazy, ridiculous, childish, because everything that's taught is you see everything objectively. You're always looking for concrete, empirical data. If you can't prove it physically, it's not real. If it's invisible, it doesn't exist. So on the scientist side, I have concrete. On the artist side, I have intangible. Scientists, physical. Artist side, metaphysical, spiritual. Scientists, seen and visible. Artist side, unseen and invisible. Scientists, logic and reason. Artist side, intuition, emotion. Science, known. Artist, unknown. And scientists, if you're, like I said, we were saying earlier about the Ken Robinson, like you're Ken Robinson, if you're on the scientist side, you're pretty much accepted. I have this whole poem, which I'll probably do next time, but I was reading this other book and this guy was saying, like, you know, it's funny, he did like this idea, he's like, there's a range of which the eyebrows raises in when you mention a certain category. It's like if you say something like, oh, I'm an administrative job, the mother of, you know, the daughter kind of says, oh, interesting. Then if you're a dentist or a lawyer, the eyebrows go halfway up the face. If you're a doctor or really, you know, one of those highly valued jobs, the eyebrows go through the roof. So if you want to be accepted in society, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And like I said, all these things are important. So I don't want to paint negative pictures of doctors, lawyers, anybody who's doing these kind of jobs. I'm just saying these are not the only people who exist on the planet. But the artist or the creative person has been taught that you need to suppress who you are and not be that person, because this is what's really important.
Yeah, Bernard, I think Hollywood's kind of pegged in on the balance of that, and it's actually created some of the best TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at any of the lawyer shows, the one that stands out is the person that is the best lawyer, but it is totally artistic in how they handle their situation. Doctors, same thing. Law enforcement, the same thing. I mean, it's in pretty much every series, it's this, you know, base of the objective, and within the objective they have this creative outlet that's not normal, and that's what people are drawn to.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I watch. You were saying something?
No, I think that's true.
Yeah.
I never thought about it. Like how
Yeah.
Watch out.
But yeah,
All of it takes something that's really important and valued in society, but it adds a creative aspect to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I love watching Law and Order. I don't know why. I'm fascinated by the show. But then as watching that show, I realized how, like you're saying, how creative lawyers have to be. Like to take, this precedent from 1951, which people forgot about, I'm bringing that out, and I'm weaving it with the precedent from 1986, and then I'm taking the statute that was just paused, like all these loopholes and getting around, and then it was like, oh, what a brilliant case. Like you really have to know nuances and details and connections and how things fit together. And I think that's what Pink is getting at too in the Whole New Mind. He says, this idea of we're going to a world where there's going to be people who are connection makers and meaning makers and able to see two things at the same time versus just the linear way of only going down the single vision, tunnel vision. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. So I said this kind of idea is accepted. You're pretty much guaranteed a job, quote unquote, economy, blah blah blah. But in theory, if you're a doctor, it's like, yeah, you're going to be a doctor. You graduate from medical school, you go apply to a hospital, and if you're qualified, you get a job. If you're an actor, it's like, oh, you're an actor, you graduate, you go to be a waiter. To be an actor, it's like this idea of a middleman. I gotta be a waiter to be an actor. Why does a doctor get to be the doctor first? It's this idea that it's not valued. I think it's interesting. Like I said, I'll do the poem next time, even though it's making me think of some of the lines. But it's this idea of his daughter comes home from college, she's with her mom, they're watching Grey's Anatomy or ER, all this stuff. Oh, isn't he so cute, blah, blah, they're reading a TV magazine. Oh, he's so cute, she's such a great actress. And then after dinner, daughter's like, Mom, I have some news. I'm dropping out of law school, I'm gonna be an actress. What? You're gonna be a what? Not in my house. So it's this value for art and the enjoyment and the entertainment, but then once somebody in your house wants to do it, nope. And so on a bigger scale, I think it's interesting how creativity and art is kind of perceived that way too, in that you see something like a Columbine, it's like, oh yeah, this evil music, Marilyn Manson and violence caused the Columbine shootings and all this stuff. But then on the other hand, people are like, oh yeah, music, artists, actors, we don't really need that stuff. So it's really not important, but yet it's causing people to kill. Like, so which one is it? Is it not important, or is it really important? It's like people want it when they want it and want to use it. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, it's just this scientific and objective is too outweighed. That's the problem now. Like, we got to bring these two back into balance. We need actors. We need doctors. Because when doctors go home, what do? They watch TV. They don't sit there and look at reports. We all, we're all, like I said, we're all both parts. We need mostly the flexibility and a little bit of structure, or mostly the structure and a little bit of flexibility. Doctors, they do their job, but they need a break. If they're just always operating on people, they're going to go crazy. And so I think some of this is going to connect to stuff we say later. The doctor, most people go to this side of the scientist, doctor, the more rational, accepted job, because they know they have to eat, and they know if they don't eat, they're going to die. So once again, getting to the fear of the unknown. That's like the ultimate fear of the unknown. All this other kind of stuff is maybe, more on a small scale. But the idea of death, since people don't know what's after death, they're like, I don't know what's happening after death, so I better stay alive as long as possible. So I better follow the rules of this life in order to keep me alive as long as possible. And these people are seen as very important, whereas the subjective people, the artists, you don't matter. Going back to the first quote, that's an interesting quote, but that's just how you feel. It's not really important. That's how you feel. That's what artists are taught. And like I said, I think I said this earlier, but the idea of the thing that's most difficult for the artist is that's how artists and creative people live most of their lives. We walk down the street and we're looking at stuff. Oh, I'm gonna make a poem out of that. Oh, I'm gonna write a song about that. Oh, I'm gonna make a movie. Like, that's who we are. We're not just doing that on the side. It's not a hobby. So when we're told that our way of looking at life is unimportant and doesn't matter, I mean, what does that do to your identity? So that's why we're here to restore the creative identity, image of the creator. That is my last chart. So if you guys have any discussions, we're pretty much on time, I think. Yep, 9:01. So unless you guys have anything else or questions.